Ex-Councilman associate charged in alleged bribery scheme is tied to a Baldwin Park marijuana permits. Oh, boy. A former
Shocking.
Compton City Councilman was arrested on Monday on federal charges alleging he and a business associate paid $70,000 in bribes to a member of the Baldwin Park City Council in exchange for that official's vote and support for commercial marijuana permits. That's right. Isaac Jacob Gallivan, 36 of Compton, who served on the city council from 2013 until May 2022, was arrested at his home on a 10-count indictment unsealed Monday, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Special agents with the FBI and IRS Criminal Investigation Unit on Monday also arrested Ying Chang Bai, 50 of Arcadia, and the owner and operator of W&F International Corporation, a diamond bar-based import-export business and a consulting client of Gallivan's, who allegedly helped orchestrate the scheme. The criminal indictment charges Gallivan and Bai with 1 count of conspiracy and 1 count of bribery and 8 counts of honest services wire fraud. Oh, boy. Both defendants entered not guilty pleas during the arraignment hearing in Los Angeles federal court and were granted release on unsecured bonds. A tentative trial date is set for November 14th. And Donald Always, assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, said the FBI arrested Gallivan for allegedly using his position of power to bribe an elected city official in order to enrich himself and a client. And a quote, "As these actions erode the public's trust and harm the communities these officials were elected to serve, FBI Los Angeles will continue to investigate them and those individuals who enable their corrupt schemes," Always said in a statement. That's an interesting name, Donald Always, as an FBI agent. In June 2017, Baldwin Park began permitting the cultivation, manufacture, and distribution of marijuana within its city limits. Soon afterward, then, Baldwin Park City Councilman Ricardo Pacheco, 60 of Baldwin Park, began soliciting bribes from businesses seeking marijuana development agreements and related permits in the city, according to court documents. In exchange for the illicit payments, Pacheco agreed to use his position in the city government to assist the companies with obtaining marijuana permits, including voting in their favor. Federal prosecutors said, according to the indictment, Gallivan first paid Pacheco a $10,000 bribe in August of 2017 to secure Pacheco's support for a future consulting client's marijuana permit. Then, after securing Bai's company W&F as a client, Gallivan facilitated $70,000 in bribes from Bai to Pacheco. Pacheco served on Baldwin Park City Council from 1997 until his resignation back in June of 2020, and he was the city's mayor pro tem back in 2018. Gallivan allegedly paid the bribes in exchange for Pacheco's political support of a promise to deliver Baldwin Park's approval of marijuana permits for W&F. And Pacheco then delivered voting in favor of WF's marijuana permit and later voting in favor of W&F's bid to relocate its operations. Throughout the scheme, Gallivan and Bay allegedly took steps to cover up their illegal payments to Pacheco by concealing Bai and W&F's connection to the payments for Pacheco. For example, Bai collected checks from third parties who owed him money and then, at Gallivan's direction, gave Gallivan the checks with blank payee lines. Gallivan then gave the checks to Pacheco, who then arranged for them to be cashed either by him or by third parties. If convicted on all charges, Gallivan and Bay would face up to 5 years in federal prison for the conspiracy count, up to 10 years for the bribery count, and up to 20 years in prison for each honest services wire fraud count, prosecutors said. Pacheco pleaded guilty in June 2020 to 1 count of bribery for accepting tens of thousands of dollars in bribes, including $20,000 in cash from a Baldwin Park police officer working at the FBI's direction in exchange for the councilman's political support of the Baldwin Park Association's contract with the city. Pacheco's sentencing hearing is scheduled for June 17th, and in November of 2022, prosecutors secured a guilty plea to a bribery charge from Gabriel Chavez, 66, of Upland, a former San Bernardino County planning commissioner who admitted to funneling bribes through his company to Pacheco in exchange for the politician's vote and influence over the city's cannabis permitting process. Chavez's sentencing hearing is scheduled for December 11th, and according to U.S. Attorney's Office, both Chavez and Pacheco have signed plea agreements in which they have agreed to cooperate in the government's ongoing investigation. In another case, Gallivan and 5 others were charged in 2021 with conspiracy in what prosecutors said was a scheme to rig a runoff election to ensure Gallivan would retain his seat. Well, lots of corruption going on out here in Compton. Man, oh man. What do you guys think about this?
I think anytime you have these local politicians involved with making decisions, you run the risk of all of this happening. This happened big time in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And when the whole program was run by the Department of Taxation, the guy in charge of taxation, Jorge Pupo, did exactly the same thing. He went to the guys with all the money and took bribes. So, it's a bummer when you give the power of all of this licensing, to these local politicians.
That's why local control is bad. The League of Cities is the ones that wanted that.
Yeah, it's all these, county officials and all of these other folks that, it should be a state rule and not a county thing.
What do you think about all these bribes and them accepting all this cash for all these bribes, Gretchen?
Typical.
Yeah.
Typical. Okay.
It is. It's typical.
Very, very typical.
Which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. I mean, I'm not surprised. I actually knew this guy. I met this guy back in the beginning of legalization.
Shocker.
I knew you were going to say something along those lines, Gretchen. But yeah, no, I met this guy. I had a couple of conversations with him. I was like, oh man, this guy is not going to be good news for whoever partners up with this guy. That's for sure. But he was definitely soliciting some schemes in some of my conversations. At least it seemed like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I just want to say I'm glad this, at least with this bribery, they got bribed with some money. Our city council got bribed with $10,000 in donated trees to Tucson Tree Society for a license.
So was
trees?
Hold on. So
Trees for
Zaza,
trees.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Trees for Trees, right? Is that the nonprofit Trees for Trees?
No. Tucson Tree Society. You know the trees that you plant out on the sidewalk?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Our
That-
city council
Trees for trees. He was being cheeky.
gave
Zaza.
zoning.
Jaja, he's making a joke. He's an idiot.
Yeah, these were not even
Mhm.
trees that you could smoke that they got donated in our city, but for $10,000 in donated trees to Tucson Tree Society, our city council actually sat and said, "Oh well, we know that this is probably a stolen. We know that they probably got it from a one-sided deal, but we just want to do something with this space." And they decided that they would donate $10,000 in trees to Tucson Tree Society, so we gave them the permit.
Oh man, they wanted those trees. I mean, it does get hot out there in Arizona, Zaza, so I can see why they would want them trees for those shady sidewalks.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot in Nevada too, right, Todd?
At least it was a nice, environmental friendly bribe.
Oh yeah, all the greenies.
There's
Yeah.
levels. There's levels
to
to
this,
this, guys.
man.
There's levels.
Man, I'm learning some shit. Maybe I'm gonna start bribing politicians with trees. Here, we'll go and
Carbon
plant them
credits,
for you.
Jason.
Yeah,
Why don't you
carbon
start working
credits.
on that?
I'm
Mhm.
so
Either way, the
mad at
trees
that.
cost money, right? So it's still money involved.
Yeah, but I know
Yeah.
I know somebody at a nursery. I can get a discount, Todd.
Of course.
So
Our light company gives away trees for free, and they plant them for you also.
See, I'm going to subcontract with these guys to fill all my bribing needs with all these politicians, and they're just going to do the work for free, and I'm just going to win licenses.
yeah, there you go.
I think that's the way to go, Zaza. Can you put me in touch with them? Oh man, we're